In the other game then, Cork beat Waterford 27 points to 18, and just looking at the players who did the scoring, Rob Downey, who's brilliant at the back, he got a couple of points. Darragh Fitzgibbon, he got 4. Patrick Horgan got 8, 2 of those from play. James Harnedy got 3, and Robbie O'Flynn coming off the bench and scoring 2. Great after the fact that he'd done his ankle so badly not so long ago in the league. On the other side, Waterford's starting forwards got just 1 point from play. Neil Montgomery. And, when was it in the first half that they got their first score from play? It was something like, it was 28 minutes, Desi Hutchinson. Like, this was a fairly desperate performance from Waterford, Colin, but I suppose you have to give Cork all the credit too.
Yeah, Cork were hopping. It's hard to know how much the Waterford game took out of, or the Limerick game took out of Waterford. I think they would have had a big regret, I'd say, Waterford, that, I don't think they thought they would be as close to Limerick as what they eventually ended up being, and I think they probably regret maybe not, getting that over the line when they had a chance. And sometimes that can suck the life out of, training for the week, that you realise you had a chance, you didn't take it, and suddenly then you have a fresh Cork team coming at you, and Cork and Waterford, I suppose, listen, Cork would match up with Waterford quite well. Waterford would not consider themselves a physical team. They'd consider themselves being a running team. I suppose like Cork, they want to keep the spaces open and, run into them spaces. They don't want the game to turn into, a battle in the middle third, neither team. So, when you have that energy and freshness that Cork had coming in, it was probably the perfect storm, really, I think, for, how the game went. And, as I said there a while ago, it was like watching two different sports. It was just it was just over and back. It was just scores coming from everywhere. There was nobody tight. There was nobody laying a glove on anybody. It was just a meek Munster Championship game. And I think, I see somebody say like this, we do get bad games. I thought that was a terrible spectacle, really, in terms of Munster Championship hurling. You kind of want that bit of a cut and a bit of an edge to it, and the game just played out. I think it was nearly over after 30 minutes, really.
Yeah, I thought it was an awful game, I have to be honest. I thought Kilkenny Galway was far better, although some people would have criticised that game for nearly being too open. But at the flip side of this, Cork coughed up 5 goal chances, and I was watching the game with the father yesterday, and he was saying, "Geez, Tipperary would be under pressure against this Cork team." And I said, I mean, true, because of all the pace and all that, but at the flip side, Tipperary aren't going to miss 5 goal chances. So there was those chances, plus also I felt, Michael, that Jack Prendergast was taken out with a foot trip inside the D in the first half.
He didn't get a free. He did not get a free, lads. Oh my God.
Kieran Joyce completely took him out. I mean, Kieran Joyce did the right thing, but...
Yeah, he was
black cards only for Clare, lads, Shane.
Yeah.
Against Tipperary. So we're okay for the rest of the year. We're okay for the rest of the year now. I think we're clear. I think that rule only applies to Clare v Tip. It's just like, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, that was yeah, you're dead right. So every chance you get, Colin, definitely. But at that moment in time, you could say there was another man travelling back, but he was the last man back. That's potentially a penalty, and it's potentially a guy in the sin bin for 10 minutes. So that was a bit of a game changer. It said baffling how he didn't get a free. It was also it was baffling from a Waterford point of view, the way they were playing at times. I couldn't believe even how naive they were at times, and how open. I couldn't believe the spaces that they were leaving. It was bizarre. Even on their own puckouts, playing against kind of a bit of a breeze, they had 3 men inside. The ball wasn't reaching the 3 lads inside. It was just, there was a lot of kind of strange things going on, and Waterford's, abysmal record in the round robin goes on. They've 1 win in 14 games. They've picked up 3 points from a possible 28. And just to talk about the general kind of malaise in Waterford at the moment, they've played 15 games in championship at senior, under 20, minor, across both codes, and they haven't won one of them. And it's not going to get much easier for the senior hurlers from here on in. The minors and the under 20 hurlers are already out of the championship, and it's not going to get any easier from here on in. But that was just a really disappointing Waterford performance. I think we kind of flagged it, Shane, on the show on Thursday, how much of a physical effort would it actually take out of Waterford to throw it down to Limerick, not get a result, lose ties to Burke and try and get going again a week later, and it never happened. Waterford looked leggy, I thought, from the start. Caleb Lyons tried to get moving at different times even in the game, and you just think this isn't a lad that's moving as free as he was even the week before. They just didn't look to be moving. And just a quick one as well, did you see, I put the video up on Twitter, I couldn't believe this, lads, things have changed a lot. Did you see when Mikey Kiley went down and he has a white ankle sock, and he has the top half of the Waterford sock cut off and just hanging on top of his ankle. It looked like a bandage around his leg. And he pulled it down. Then this is mad, lads.
It's very common in soccer. Like, I was obviously playing, and just to get it in there, our own club, Newmarket Celtic, won the FAI Junior Cup. So I actually missed the Clare Limerick game. I didn't get into it live because the Newmarket Celtic were playing. So great for our local club that they took down another tip team, St Michael's, which is a nice Clare v tip. Kind of conundrum there. But like, listen, Clare club has never won the FAI Junior Cup. The market have never won it, obviously. So, like, it's just something that is really good for our community. But it stems from a soccer thing. I see all the soccer lads, they wear a sock, and then like the long sock. I think it's just the quality maybe of the foot or the sole in the hurling socks, possibly, that isn't the same maybe as the sports socks maybe that are out there now. But especially when they're doing a lot of running.
Yeah, true enough. Yeah.
Were you playing the soccer the other night? I know you have been playing.
No. I'm finished. Just hurling. It's hard enough to get out of the house with 3 now. Tried to get out of the house for a soccer match for about 3.5 hours now is long enough, Shane.
So you're telling me that you chose going watching soccer over Limerick against Clare?
There you go.
Would you chose Barcelona over Tipperary?
Wait, but you're
choosing
soccer over hurling.
Would you chose Barcelona over Tipperary?
Barcelona GA club or Barcelona Rovers? Do you know what I mean?
Barcelona, anything in Barcelona.
I'll go with Barth.
Yeah. Your community is everything, and your community is everything.
If I gave any other answer, it just wouldn't be worthwhile. So I'm gonna agree with you. Weapons.
They were all like, listen, they were all friends of mine. Like that. Like one of my best friends managing them. Or a coach with them. They're all lads I would have played soccer with and still play hurling with. So it's a big ordeal. Dad would have been like the youngest captain in the Newmarket Celtic, so soccer's more in his blood than it is in mine. So it's a different game. But it's a massive community though in the market, like in the sense that the soccer and hurling club work so well together. So like we're blessed like that. Both come together. We get an awful lot of players who will be accommodated to play both. So we're just lucky that we have the success on both sides.
How much of soccer tactics do you think can be worked into hurling?
It's such a different game. I was even saying the other night, I came home from it and it was weird. It just things move so slowly. Like in the soccer match, the game changes. Like you can change things up very quickly, tactically and stuff like that. Whereas hurling, I was only having this discussion with somebody the other day. I was like, if you make a switch in hurling, you nearly need to get the message back to your half back line and full back line like that we're after bringing on somebody, because the game is moving so quickly now that you don't have time to look up and see that. The point I was making was that Aaron Shanahan, when he went in full forward for the tip game, I was kind of like the lads know that Aaron Shanahan was in there, because it took him about 5 minutes to realise, and then suddenly, there was 2 balls and there was carnage and, there was a bit of chaos, it's nearly as if you're so worried the game is moving so quickly, it's breathless, that you have to get the message in to say that we're having a bit of a change of tact here. We need to go. We've a lad in there now who's 6'3" or 4", and you need to change up how quick the game moves. But also going back to something you said there about the Waterford and Cork game, arguably you had probably the team who have the most question marks about their backline in Cork, and the team who probably are the least cutting edge in the Munster Championship in Waterford's forwards coming up against each other. So it is very hard to know where either team is at. I think Cork will come up against far bigger tests in the Munster Championship, and I'm kind of glad that Clare don't have them next, in the sense that at least they'll be able to see maybe how they come up against a more physical element, before they get to play them again.
We're getting attacked now over the soccer chat. Jesus, we have to listen to soccer chat rather now than get anything but a cursory 2-minute comment on Cork v Waterford. Do you know what I thought was interesting? I was looking at Cork and their puckouts every time. Now, this could be led by the goalkeeper. It could be led by the management. And obviously, we don't know. But like every time Cork had a puckout, their full back line came onto the 21. So they were trying to create a bit of structure in their own defence, which I think is the right way to go about it. And I was looking at Waterford. It wasn't so pronounced in the second half, but in the first half, their full back line at times were like 40 yards out. And I'm thinking, if you lose a ball at the other end of the field from the puckouts, which they were doing at times, there's nothing but space in your back line. So I just thought structurally, Michael, that Waterford looked a little bit all at sea at times.
It's hard to. I haven't seen space like that in a county game in years, lads. It was naive would be the word I'd use. I couldn't believe it. Like if, as you say, Shane, if there was a mistake, it was open season. Like it was, you're almost like trying to play like perfect hurling. Like if they get the ball, if Waterford do win possession, yeah, maybe they have runners coming from deep and things like that. But you have to play the percentages as well. They weren't able to get their hands on a load of ball, and all of a sudden then Cork were building, and it was just so many different areas that they could put the ball into. There was kind of space everywhere. It was hard to believe kind of what was going on really at different stages in that game. I couldn't believe it. And when you look, you'd praise Waterford tactically, how they played against Limerick the week before, and they got so many things right. But tactically, I couldn't believe some of the things that were going on yesterday. But saying that, we kind of flagged this as well. They knew they were playing Limerick from very, very far out. They'd probably been planning for Limerick from very, very far out. That first game gets so much time and so much attention. And the second game maybe then doesn't get as much attention. It gets, 6 days attention, if you get me. So, yeah, I was surprised to see what was going on there. And as Colin said, like, realistically, the game was over after 25 minutes. And they made a bit of a spurt at the start of the second half, got a couple of scores back. But Darragh Fitzgibbon was just running riot at different stages in the game the other day. For again, another guy who didn't play a league and just hit the ground running straight away. He was just causing them so much trouble. And it's that pace and the accuracy, even shooting from outfield as well. But again, did we learn much about Cork really yesterday? I'm not so sure.
We learned that Brian Roach has franked his form from the league. Like, he looked a good player, and the way he shut down Jamie Barron early doors, I mean a particular moment when Barron was trying to twist this way, turn the next way, and he eventually dispossessed him, got in for a goal chance, obviously didn't convert it, but like, he seems like a fair old machine. Tommy O'Connell had a bit of bother at wing back, but obviously they adjusted that in time and moved somebody else on Jack Prendergast. But a lot of people are saying, Colin, about, you know, this is typical Waterford now. They folded up tents like they did last year. You know, they didn't perform last year for Liam Cahill in the end. They didn't perform for Davy here. Other people saying, Davy, tactically, you know, is he not there anymore? Like, what's your read on this?
I just don't think they have the core group of players maybe that like are and the players to back them up. You know, I think Waterford, like, they have good athletic players, but like, they just don't seem to marry well together. You know, like, they don't seem to have, like, Tyg de Burka is the glue in a lot of ways, you know, that kind of pulls them together and keeps them in control. They have a lot of exceptionally good hurlers with loads of legs, but it takes a lot, guys, to make a team, you know, like, to make a quality team at Intercounty. You know, you need a lot of cogs to fit in places. You know, like, you need your tough cornerbacks that are able to, you know, kind of man up and mark their men. You need, you know, strong men around the middle of the park. Like, and also Waterford, like, I don't think they have enough scoring threat, you know, from around the field to pick off a lot of scores. Like, Desi's a fine hurler, but like, where do you play him? He doesn't have support. He's easily man marked because they don't have somebody else who's that dangerous. Like, they just don't seem to have that backup of or depth in their squad, you know, that allows them. Like, Stephen Bennett is a fantastic hurler. He's great risk, but like, you know, players know that maybe, you know, that if he doesn't get inside them, you know, like, that he's okay, you keep him outside him. Like, so they just don't have they don't have enough threat everywhere, I think, to kind of cause a lot of difficulty for teams. But like, what I'd like to see with Cork and what test where they're at is, like, they used all their energy, Cork, in running the other day. You know, they were able to just run here, there and everywhere, and they had loads of energy. But like, you'd like to see how they cope with the energies of having to deal with hits and see if their running game is just as good after that then as well. You know, because there wasn't a hit in that game yesterday. It was just
a couple of wrestling tackles, all right.
Yeah, but it was crazy to watch. Like, you know, I was watching it like, and Christ, like I'm moving slow, but I was kind of thinking like this. You know, you'd nearly manage to score a couple of points if you were playing with Cork yesterday, no matter who you were, because
throw it out to me. Just I'm loose here. Throw it out to
me. Because Waterford, like, you know, just they didn't seem to want to go man for man with them. You know, or maybe they were trying to keep their structure, maybe, you know, to try and make sure that they didn't concede goal chances against Cork. And that they did, but like, you know, you like concede 28 points, you know, or whatever it was. Like, you know, you're not going to win any Munster Championship game, you know, allowing a team to get up that, you know, head of steam.
Yeah, Michael, like I thought the inaccuracy of some of Waterford's passing at times was, you know, it was just so sloppy. The amount of stick passes that hit the floor and players had to turn backwards for them. I also saw a stat on the RTE coverage at one stage. Opposition puckouts won. This was after 66 minutes, 18-3. So that'll just tell you that Waterford weren't able to turn over the Cork puckout. And it's not like Cork are known for having a load of brilliant ball winners. Now, Cork only had that one goal chance through Brian Roach after 25 minutes or so. It was saved well by Billy Nolan. But I just wonder, Waterford next week, if Austin Gleeson, I presume he's not starting because maybe injury and he's not fully fit to start. But you're thinking surely at this stage, start him, start Pádraig Fitzgerald, start Patrick Fitzgerald, and let's just go for broke because the forwards just don't even look like scoring.
Yeah, they're going to have to now. They haven't hit the 20-point mark in their 2 games, lads. You're just going to get left behind in modern hurling if you're not hitting that type of mark.
20, I'd say you want more than 20.
Yeah, but they're not even hitting 20.
Yeah,
like, do you know what I mean? Like that's and like that. Fair enough, they left plenty of chances behind them the first day against Limerick. They left, you know, a good few behind them yesterday as well. But they just at times they didn't even look that dangerous. Listen, I don't know. Is there a common theme here or what? But like there was a comment in there saying that some of the Waterford players down tools under Pádraig Fanning's reign, like they really need to guard against anything like that happening in this. They need a performance the next day. They have to produce something the next day. They were hot enough the first day. They were fairly cold yesterday. I to be honest, I agree with your point, Colin, about maybe the lack of depth. But by Jesus, Liam Cattle had Waterford humming for 2.5 years. Like they were humming, like they were playing beautiful stuff at different stages. They look totally unstoppable. There doesn't seem to be much rhyme or reason to the way they're playing at the moment. I think it's a bit probably overthought. I looked at Caleb Lyons soloing through yesterday in the middle of the park, totally by himself. He had about 30 yards to go into, or he had a point to take on, one or the other, and he hits this ridiculous kind of diagonal ball to Desi Hutchinson. I'm not having to go at him because we have waxed lyrical about him here. We think he's a brilliant player, but that's just a guy that's caught in a headspace of, am I playing naturally here, or am I trying to, you know, force something or do something that we've been told to do? And that's what it looked like to me. And it just looked like a team that are caught between different styles, different tactics. I don't know how instinctive it all is, to put it to you that way.
You know what I think is a big problem for Waterford as well is the fact that like their club championship is like is not competitive at the minute. You know, in terms of Ballygunner winning so much, and you know, is there we're Ballygunner or we're Waterford? Do you know, like that sort of team developing in this squad? You know, you have Ballygunner lads obviously pulling out, you know, of the Waterford setup. You know, some of them are playing, some of them aren't. You know, and it's a bit like the down scenario above. You know, that like you had lads playing with what's the club, Kilcoo, and not playing with Down. You know, like, and it doesn't help when one team is so dominant in their championship, you know, and that their club championship isn't. And I know people might make the argument to Ballyhale or whatever, you know, but Kilkenny is thoroughbred hurling, you know, and all the teams, you know, Ballyhale, yeah, they're being successful, but the other teams are still bringing on players, and everybody from Ballyhale plays with Kilkenny. You know, like they want to play with Kilkenny and they want to be successful with Kilkenny. And I just wondering, like, is this Waterford team suffering, you know, on the back of Ballygunner now winning an awful lot of championships? You know, these players are trying to win club championships, and some of them are probably turning around with their own clubs and kind of saying, what's the point now? You know, like, is there an awful lot of, you know, players being lost to the system because of it, you know, and how Waterford are going to manage that? It's obviously been a problem at underage now. It's stemming right down along, and, you know, unless they get the right structures in place, you know, they're going to go down a deep dark hole very, very quickly, you know. And Michael, you know it very well how a team can slip. You know, Clare were worried about that in recent years, and thankfully, you know, like, there's phenomenal work being done in the academies, through Rob Mulcahy and, Doyle Maloney, even after managing the Clare seniors, goes back to be Clare 15s and sets up a Clare 15s competition with all the schools, that have Clare lads playing in them, and kind of, and it starts to steamroll again. But, Waterford, I think structurally, I think there's an awful lot more at play maybe in terms of what's going to happen to them down the line if they don't get their house in order.
There's a genuine worry that Waterford are going to, from Waterford folk, that they're going to slip off the radar in 3 or 4 years when Jamie Barron, Austin Gleeson, Ty de Borca, etc. Exit. And it's not. Yeah, it's worrying.
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, like you kind of said the same about Wexford last week, but if you look at the Waterford 20s there the other night against Tipperary, and they didn't have the 3 Fitzgeralds playing, and Mark Fitzgerald is a brilliant prospect, and obviously the 2 Fitzgeralds forwards are also. But there was is it Jack Toomey was the lad who was playing in the full forward line, and he scored that goal with the flick over the head. And they were very competitive with Tip and could have won that game even though they were down, lads. So, I mean, I know what you're saying, but they need to manage the players coming through, whoever's coming through and whoever they have who's just been in the senior panel in the last year or two. Yeah, they need to manage everything right now or they could have a bit of slippage. Just in terms of what the 2 managers said after this game, Pat Ryan says there was a bit of negativity after the Kilkenny game, this is the league semi-final, and obviously we'd like to have played a bit better, but I think it was a blessing in disguise in the end. The way inter-county is now, if you're not going to work hard, you're not going to get anything. We've been accused at times in Cork of not working hard enough. I don't think we can be accused of that today. And on the other side, Davy Fitz said, it's easy to assess the performance. It was absolutely terrible. Lack of energy, lack of drive. It was just very disappointing. I'd love to tell you why. I just don't know. It wasn't the same team that lined out last week. Maybe it was something I got wrong during the week. I don't know. That desire to get the ball in front. If you let Cork get to the ball, they're going to hurt you. And they did that today. We've known to look at only ourselves. We weren't energetic and we let them dictate everything. It wasn't good enough. I mean, like a week after Clare lost to Tipperary, they produced that performance against Limerick. So I don't think we can just put it down to energy alone, Michael. Just a final word on this game.
Yeah, no, you can't put it down to energy alone, because in one way you're after throwing it down to the All-Ireland champions, and you realise maybe we're a bit better than we thought we are, maybe we're closer than we thought we are. But again, there is the physical toll that comes with that, and Clare are more aware than anybody else about the physical toll that comes with actually throwing it down to Limerick and been really competitive with them. It'll be fascinating to see how Clare play in 2 weeks' time on the back of that. From a Waterford point of view, can they produce anything here? Can they somehow conjure 2 wins and end up on 4 points in what will probably be a really, really messy looking table with a lot of teams on similar enough points, and what could end up coming down to head-to-heads? But Waterford are the only ones without points now, and you'd be probably a brave man to say that they're going to end up with points at the end of the 2 games just based on how they played yesterday.
Colin, you've been great with your time. We won't keep you much longer. Who's going to come out of Munster?
Oh God! Listen, Clare, Tip, and Limerick.
Clare, Tip, and Limerick. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
I think, and the reason for that, before any Cork people cut me, is I just think like that Cork have obviously Clare, Limerick, and Tip to play, and I think they're going to come up against a lot more physical battles than what they did against Waterford yesterday. And I think people will probably read into them, being back and, having a new manager after scoring so much yesterday. But Munster Championship takes an awful lot more, to win than just throwing points over, and Cork have seen that down through the years. And I just think maybe that they're not as physical as, and I just don't think they're going to match up with Clare. They might beat one of them, but I just don't think they're going to match up physically with all of them, in a couple of weeks in a row. And I possibly think Clare will beat Waterford. It's hard to know. It could come down to Clare v Cork in the last round in Cusack Park. And I'd have taken, yeah.
I was going to say, and Clare obviously haven't won the Munster since you were in short pants back in 1998. So it would be like, is this going to be the year? You're looking at a Munster. I think everybody still has All-Ireland. Everybody still has hopes for an All-Ireland. No more than possibly the football, like the provincial championships. I think the round robin in Munster is nearly more relevant than the Munster final. In the sense that everybody's just looking to be top 3, I think, and get into the All-Ireland. Clare,
I go back to when we won the All Ireland in 2013 and Limerick won Munster. Like that killed Limerick. Like even though they hadn't won a Munster in so long, when you get an opportunity and you get to an All Ireland, it's an All Ireland you want. Like that's the pinnacle, that's the be all and end all. And I think all these competitions are just nearly, kind of, I suppose warming up to get into the All Ireland series and making sure, obviously in Munster it's so cutthroat that you have to get into the All Ireland series. You have to, come at it a bit quicker. It's so much easier for the likes of Galway and Kilkenny to ramp up their preparations a lot differently. Like you come out of Munster blood and bandages, ready for an All Ireland series, whereas Kilkenny and Galway can probably, kind of ease their way into it, especially after the draw yesterday. Both teams are primed to come out of Leinster, and it's just going to be a case of what 3 out of the 4 teams come out of Munster. I can't see Waterford coming out, but it's going to be a different scenario, and it's going to be intriguing to watch over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah,